Do you know how the Allied forces won World War II? They had secret weapons that were far more powerful than bombs or bullets, the ability to read enemy codes. And leading the charge was a secret team of codebreakers led by a brilliant mathematician named Alan Turing. Now, if you've heard about him before, you might think, yeah, that guy who played chess with a computer. But there's more to his story. In fact, what he did during the war is so important it can be summed up with just one word: everything. Let me explain. You see, it all started when the Germans came up with something called Enigma, a machine that can encrypt messages almost instantly. It worked by pressing a button that would light up different letters of the alphabet. Like pressing A would make B light up, pressing B would make C light up, and so on. The only problem was these buttons didn't correspond to the letters you'd expect. For example, maybe A would make D light up, B would make E light up, and so on. So the only way to figure out the encrypted message was to plug in every possible combination until you found the right one. And since there were billions of possibilities, the Enigma machine was considered unbreakable. At first, the Allies couldn't do anything about it. So they sent captured German messages to a place called Bletchley Park where a team of codebreakers tried to figure them out the old-fashioned way, but that was taking too long. The British needed a faster way to crack the Enigma code, and they turned to mathematicians and engineers to build a machine that could do the job quickly. That's where Alan Turing comes in. In less than a year, he designed something called the bomb, a machine that could test thousands of possibilities at lightning speed. It wasn't perfect, but it gave the codebreakers a much-needed edge. Now, this is where things get really interesting because breaking the Enigma code wasn't just a one-time thing. It was an ongoing process that lasted throughout the war. You see, the Germans kept changing the encryption settings on their machines, which meant that the bombs had to be reprogrammed constantly. And that's where Alan Turing and his team of codebreakers really shine. They had to work in complete secrecy, which meant no one outside the group knew what they were working on or how important it was. Even after the war ended, they couldn't talk about their work until the 1970s. It was so top secret that they even had to destroy some of their machines when it was all over. Historians say that Turing's work may have shortened the war by 2 years, saving millions of lives. But if you ask me, it's impossible to put a number on what he and his team accomplished. They were true heroes of the war, the kind who don't wear capes, but whose impact is felt around the world. So what's the biggest impact that Alan Turing and his team had on World War II? Well, it starts with one word: intelligence. You see, by breaking the Enigma code, the Allies gained access to a wealth of German intelligence that they would have never gotten otherwise. This included information about enemy troop movements, shipping patterns, and even secret weapons. With this knowledge, the Allies were able to plan their own moves more effectively, launch surprise attacks, and stay one step ahead of the Germans. But intelligence isn't just about military tactics. It's also about staying safe. By decrypting German communications, the Allies were able to prevent attacks and save countless lives. For example, in 1943, the Germans planned an attack on a ship carrying food to Britain. But thanks to Turing's team, the British were able to defend themselves and the ship arrived safely. There were similar instances throughout the war where ordinary people went about their lives without knowing they'd been saved by a codebreaker. But let's be real here. No one person has the power to do any of this alone, and Alan Turing was quick to point that out. He always emphasized that his work was done as part of a team and that without the help of his colleagues, he wouldn't have been able to do it. You see, working at Bletchley Park wasn't like your average job. It required long hours, hard work, and complete secrecy. But despite the challenges, Turing and his team were able to achieve the impossible, proving that with enough determination, anything is possible. If you're thinking this sounds like a movie plot, well, you're not alone. There have been several films made about Alan Turing and his work at Bletchley Park. But no matter how many movies are made, they can't fully capture the dedication and brilliance of these codebreakers. So let me tell you about one last thing. You see, breaking the Enigma code wasn't just about solving puzzles. It was about finding patterns and making connections. In fact, many of the techniques Turing and his team used are still relevant today. For example, they developed ways to deal with noisy signals and incomplete information, which is essential for anyone working in intelligence. They also created new ways to represent letters and numbers, which laid the groundwork for modern cryptography. But here's the thing, all of this happened before the advent of modern computers. Turing and his team were working with mechanical devices that could be programmed. Punch cards, you know, those things your grandma used to use for her knitting machine. Basically, they were building the very foundations of what would eventually become our digital world. Think about that for a second. The work that happened at Bletchley Park set the stage for everything from the internet to smartphones. And none of it would have been possible without Alan Turing and his team of codebreakers. But let's face it, not everyone's gonna remember the name Alan Turing. I mean, come on, the man's name is synonymous with the tech industry. Everyone knows about him. I mean, I've probably mentioned him in other videos. But what about the other codebreakers at Bletchley Park? The ones who worked tirelessly to break the Enigma code and save countless lives. People like Joan Clark, who was one of the few women in the group and responsible for designing some of the key equipment used at Bletchley Park, or Max Newman, who helped develop the world's first stored program computer. It's easy to forget that behind every great achievement, there's a team of dedicated individuals who put their minds together to achieve something truly special. These men and women worked in relative obscurity, their contributions only recognized in recent years, but their legacy lives on in the devices we use every day. When you type on a keyboard, send a text message, or browse the internet, take a moment to appreciate the codebreakers of Bletchley Park. Their work paved the way for the digital age we live in today, and their dedication and brilliance should never be forgotten. Speaking of never forgetting, let's take a moment to remember the real heroes of this story, the brave men and women who served in World War II. These individuals put their lives on the line to protect their countries and fight for freedom. We owe them our gratitude, and it is up to us to make sure their sacrifices are never forgotten. One way we can honor their memory is by supporting organizations that preserve their stories and educate future generations about their bravery. One such organization is the Royal British Legion, which provides support and services to those who have served in the armed forces, as well as their families. By donating to the Royal British Legion, you can help ensure that veterans receive the care and respect they deserve. Another way we can remember these heroes is by simply taking the time to listen to their stories. Many veterans are willing to share their experiences with anyone who's willing to listen. By hearing their stories, we can better understand the impact of war and the importance of peace. Finally, we can also support initiatives that promote peace and understanding between nations. War is never an easy topic to discuss, but it's important to remember that it affects not only those who serve, but also the families and communities they leave behind. By supporting organizations that work to promote peace and understanding, we can help create a better future for all of us. So let's take a moment of silence to remember those who served in World War II. Let their courage inspire us to create a better, more peaceful world for future generations. Well, that's a look at what schools skipped about Aztec Chinampas. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.